So good evening and thank you. Excited to explain our continuous learning plan 2.0. And I'd like to begin by thanking all the teachers who put in countless hours to get this done, administrators, our learning service team, our IT team, and our Board of Education. So this truly was a team effort. I want to start by talking about the word hope. And on March 9th of 2020, we spent quite a bit of time talking about the word hope and what it means. That we're hopeful that COVID-19 doesn't spread throughout the United States. That we're hopeful that school will continue and we won't have to miss any days. That we're hopeful that our students, our parents, community members, or people throughout this country don't get inflicted with this horrible, horrible disease. As great as hope is, there's one thing that hope isn't. Hope isn't a plan. And we realized on March 9th, 2020, that hope was not going to get us where we needed to be. And so we worked on two plans. The first plan we called At Home Learning 1.0. And based on guidance from the Michigan Department of Education, we rolled out review and enrichment activities. There seems to be some confusion about that this was meant to be some type of online school. That never was the intent. It never was the intent of any school district in the state of Michigan. The intent was to have some review and enrichment activities. So we get to today, rolling out 2.0. We've been under the premise since March 9th of 2020 that the state of Michigan and Governor Whitmer was going to close schools for the entire year. We operated that based on what we knew, based on what had happened in the state of Washington, that there was no doubt we were going to be in the same boat. And we didn't let any information, positive or negative, come out, sway us from what we needed to do, which is to create an online school for our students so we can move forward. So talking about kind of how we got there, we looked at a couple different things. One, based on our work with the National Equity Project, and then we're looking at best practices from the Stanford Instructional Design Model, we began to create what was going to be an online school. And in doing so, we realized a couple things. One, we realized one size doesn't fit all. That for us and for our community, a cookie cutter approach to say K through 12, this is what it needs to look like, this is what it needs to be, A, was not best practices, and B, wouldn't get us where we wanted to be. So as we go through this, we've actually created schools within schools. We've created 3 separate online schools, a K through 5 school, a 6 through 8 school, a 9 through 12 school, all based on best practices and what should happen. We also looked at 4 other areas. One is innovation. You're going to hear about how K through 8, we have grade level teams. We're one of the few schools in the United States of America that's implemented grade levels teams as far as looking at how we do online learning. So the question probably is why? Why will we look at that? We've learned a couple things since that date in March. Like I said, we talked about hope. We also hoped, like I said, no one will get sick. We know the sad reality is there's a possibility that not only will our teachers potentially get sick, or they might have a family member that gets sick. By allowing our K through 8 grade level teams to operate and collaborate and work together, it allows us to best support all of our students and all of our teachers and all of our families as we move forward. Again, one of the few schools in the United States doing that. We also looked at content. We wanted to make sure we looked at what standards do we really need to cover? What is going to be essential for our students to move forward, knowing that we are going to a full online school? And then how do we get there? Without the administrators, the teachers, our learning service team, IST, none of this would have been a possibility whatsoever. We looked at connectedness. Why do students love school? They love the learning and they love their friends. They love the connections that they have with each other. It's a big part of what they do on a daily basis. How can we recreate that? And then we looked at benchmarking. We not only want to be the best in the country, we want everyone else to know that we've created the best plan in the country. Well, how do we know that if we don't look beyond our own walls? How do we know that if we don't look outside of the state of Michigan? As we built 2.0 in the past 2.5 weeks, we've had meetings, whether Skype, Zoom, Google Hangouts, email exchanges, with 17 states that include Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Virginia, North Carolina, New Jersey, New York, Florida, Texas, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, California, and the state of Washington, all sharing best practices. While we have one of the best teams here in Bloomfield Hills, we know that in times like this, if not all times, you need to reach out and learn from other people. It can be one small thing that makes the biggest difference for our community. And we knew when we were presented this plan, we wanted our community to know that we've left no rock unturned to put together the best possible plan. And why 2.0? Kind of like an iOS update. As we grow, as we learn, we can't be static. Looking at a traditional online school, it's a one-size-fits-all, it's static. Whatever program you start in September, it's the same program you end up with in June. And we knew that's not what the community expected. It's not what the community wanted. And I know as a father of 3, I wouldn't accept it for my own family. And so we made sure it's something that can grow and change as we go on. So now I'll share with you an example of a 3rd grade schedule. Notice that I'm going to give you 3 separate examples of a way to look at it. So if you're a parent looking at home, one of the things that school provides is structure. Students need structure. They also need expectations. So this sample schedule is something you could use. We'll have this online, so if you want to print it out and hang up. But understand it's also flexible. When it says 9 a.m. to 9:15, start your learning with a video bell. If your student likes to sleep until 10, you might start at 10. If your kid's an early riser in 3rd grade and they're up at 7 a.m. and you want to get them started, then get them started. It's okay. You can do that. If you want it to be completely flexible and you decide how to do it, that's up to you. But I know for a lot of families, this will be an easy thing you can hang up in the fridge and say, here we go. Let's go about it. Another example, looking at 3rd grade, looking at ELA, writing, math, social studies. We want to make sure they know what the topic is. We want to make sure they know what the resource is. And we want them to make sure they know the task. What is it they're trying to accomplish? What is it they're trying to do? So if we look at writing, the topic, proofreading and editing, the resource, link to the editing video. Your job, go back and edit your paragraph from yesterday using this editing wheel. Again, this is a second way to look at the schedule. The 3rd way, okay, because we all look at things differently. We look at the schedule here. You've got the times again. You know your subject, you know your lesson, you know your resource, you know your task. Again, we want to be flexible as much as possible. So if you're a parent, you're watching this and you're trying to figure out what fits best for you, these are just examples that you can use. You may decide that you're better off later of making your own schedule, and that's okay as well. There's no one way to do this. There's no one right way. And your student will kind of let you know what's working for him and her as you go along. So some of the important details. Teachers will check in with students twice per day, in addition to a video offering guided instruction or a mini lesson. Let's talk about this twice per day. As we benchmarked against 17 additional states, typically the check-in from a K-5 teacher was 0 to 1 time per day. Because of the extraordinary staff, the extraordinary teachers here in Bloomfield Hills, they're checking in twice per day. In the 17 states I mentioned, there is not one state that had their teacher checking in twice per day. So if you are a teacher in this district, kudos to you for stepping up and setting the benchmark, not just in the state of Michigan, but in the 17 other states where that's not happening. Also, each teacher will structure their individual check-in times with students according to the needs of the lesson of the day. This is a great piece for the teachers to have their autonomy. What do I need to cover when I check in? Am I looking more social, emotional? Do I need to review the lesson from earlier in the day? Do I need to extend a lesson? Those teachers will decide those touch points and what they need. As always, families are our first partners. You can still reach out to your child directly via email. You can reach out to your building administrator via email. You can reach out to central office people via email. That part of school doesn't change. Questions, concerns, ideas, noticings you have about your child's progress. Just like if they were in the building, email, contact us, let us know. There's also been a lot of talk with our special education, with our special needs students, what will happen. Our goal is to provide support to students within the resources we have through ongoing collaboration with the general education teachers. Special education, learning services team are all one team. These aren't two separate teams. They've completely merged together to talk about best practices. As we talk to administrators in the 17 other states, we've asked them, what is working for you? What's not working? What can you share? And we've implemented ideas from those districts that will best serve us. We're also creating alternate formats for instruction for those who may be unable to access online learning activities. We also know the stress that's going on with our students and our parents and the continual trauma this is going to cause. So social emotional wellness can't just be something that we do because there's an emergency or because it's a buzzword or we're supposed to because of the state of Michigan. These are things that we're looking to embed in activities and lessons to merge together and have them as standalone opportunities for family and students on our website because it's that important. Also, keep in mind if you're a parent that your learner has individual needs and attention spans. Chunking work into amounts of time most appropriate for your child is encouraged. So it might be the suggestion, 20 minutes on this, 40 minutes, say it's 40 minutes. Your son or daughter might need 10 minutes, 15-minute break, 20 minutes. You'll kind of see that as you go along. Everyone's going to be different. And students do well with elements of choice in the routine. And I found this be helpful with my own children as they were growing up. So you might look at our suggested schedule and say, you know what, Pat, here's what you're supposed to do. Here's the order that's suggested. But you know what do you want to start with today? Do you want to start with math? Do you want to start with ELA? Reading? Do you want to start with your elective? What works best for you today? So having the student have some of that autonomy might be a great way for them to get started. And think about it. Those are some of the K-5 routines, especially early out. Put your little clip where you want to go. What station do you want to, start at today? What do you make your lunch decision? Some of those decisions are natural for our students to make. Now comes the hard part. None of us have had a child that's been in an online school full time. We've never gone through a pandemic. As a former social studies teacher, I taught about it. It really didn't hit home. I used to think to myself, wow, that would really be horrible. I can't even imagine. And I don't even know if I've completely processed what's going on right now. But we get to the point where there's a whole lot of what ifs. And in a time of crisis, we like the security of knowing what's going to happen next. What's next? Well, what if this happens? What if this happens? Well, what if we go here? And there are so many what ifs right now. There's not an answer to all the what ifs. And that's why this is called 2.0, Continuous Learning 2.0. Because as those what ifs come up, we need to continue to move forward. And how do we move forward? We do that with feedback. We do that by treating everyone with dignity and respect. Before this pandemic happened, every single person in our life was dealing with something that we didn't know about, that was bogging them down, that was weighing them down, that was causing difficulties in their family. That has been multiplied by 1,000 times for a lot of people. So as we get feedback, we need feedback from students. There'll be a survey. We're rolling out Remind. It's something that we looked at rolling out next year, but time is of the essence. And we need to do everything we possibly can do to move this district forward as an online school. We are now an online school, period. There's no way around it. That's what we are, and that's what we've been planning for. We'll get feedback with mini lessons and teacher check-ins. The closer we can create a sense of normalcy for our students, the better they're going to be. We know they're resilient, which is great, but we as a school community, as a school district, need to do more. And that's why we're stepping up to the challenge and doing more now. Why do I say doing more? Because I benchmarked it against 17 states in the United States, school districts that we'd all probably send our children to. That's how I know. Staff, survey, and team meetings. I've also created a teacher task force that'll be meeting directly with me to let me know what's working, what's not working, looking at some of the survey data, and just sharing ideas. Because this is a great time to be innovative. This is a great time to be creative. I've been in education almost 30 years and talking about what if I didn't have to worry about state testing? What if M-STEP didn't matter? What if the SAT didn't matter as much this year? That's where we're at. Those things are not playing a large role in what we're doing. So forget thinking outside the box. Let's get rid of the box. The box doesn't exist. Your imagination is your only limitation as a teacher. It's like a fairy tale to some extent. It's unbelievable. For our families, survey, remind, and other digital tools. So this will grow, this will change, this will evolve as we go along. And I couldn't be prouder to be a member of this community, a member of this team, and a member of this school district. Thank you.